Let's make a pinch pot with Pottery with a Purpose pinch pot kit. I'm so excited. This kit comes with air dry clay, carving tools, a smoothing sponge, paint, and a paintbrush, along with step-by-step instructions. Truth be told, I am officially an employee for them, and I'm so excited. This was the first thing that I made for my first interview. It was during Women's History Month, so it is a Frida Kahlo pinch pot. And then recently I made this for a friend of mine because her favorite animals are pandas. And she's going through some stressful times, so I'm sending her a little happy kit. So, okay, sorry, I was trying to open the box and then realized my full address was loud and proud, and so I just kind of paused that video. So moving on. Go on, get your hands dirty. I love it. I just love this so much. I'm so grateful that this came across my Facebook feed. This is where I found them. Pottery with a Purpose pottery guide. And what is falling out here is a coaster. This coaster is embedded with wildflower seeds. You can plant it under a thin layer of soil and water it daily until the seedlings are well established. So I love that. One of the things that I love about this company is that everything it does is sustainable, from the clay, the tools, the paper and ink that is used to create these, the box that it's sent in, everything is sustainable. And that is near and dear to my heart. When I actually went to school for business and have a business degree, and I really focused a lot of my classes on ecopreneurship and creating companies that focus on the triple bottom line, not just the bottom line, not just the money, but how their company is going to affect the environment, how it's going to affect the local people, and how long term sustainable it is, basically. Another thing that I love about this company is that every quarter they donate to a mental health nonprofit. And that's, if you know me, then you know I've dealt with mental health my whole life, depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So that's also near and dear to my heart. So these are just some ideas of things you can make. This is adorable. I might have to try and make that. A little giraffe pot. I also love jellyfish, so I'm loving this upside down air plant pot. You can also, everything doesn't have to be a pot. Sometimes you can do like a trinket tray, something flat. You can do nearly anything with air dry clay. It's very quickly becoming one of my favorite art tools. I've been making, I also, which I don't have near to show you, but I also recently made, I love Alice in Wonderland, and that's my lifelong favorite story. And I recently made some Alice in Wonderland themed clay pieces. So in these boxes, you get 2 bricks of clay. So either for you and a friend, or for you to make multiple things with. That also depends on how big what you're making is going to be. We also get paint and a paintbrush with a wooden handle. I love that. You get a sculpting tool set. Again, everything that this company does is sustainably done. So your tools are wood, not plastic. I love that. This is actually a sponge and it expands. So you see, it looks really, really thin, but I'm going to end up putting it in this water and it's going to expand, and I can use that. You can kind of see, yeah, there it goes. So you use this for smoothing out your clay. So we have a roller, kind of a fork tool, and then on the other end, it's kind of like a little scoop that you can do different things with. We have these wire tools, which are really helpful for instance, this pot. You can kind of see how uneven and crooked the top is. I do not currently have a wire tool to make it nice and smooth, so that would have been helpful. And then a knife, also with a scoop at the end. Another scoop and kind of like a corner tool, help you get into edges better. And then like a poker tool, so you can make, again, you could, like I said, you can make all kinds of things with air dry pottery, or air dry clay, sorry. And so you can make things like a yarn bowl. And Sam, who is the owner of the company, she made a really cute, like kind of like a blowfish yarn bowl. And so she uses the poker tool to make the hole that the yarn comes out. And I just love that idea. I will probably end up making, because I also crochet, so I will probably end up making myself one as well. It says, unplug and unwind. Put your phone in, shut the box, and get creative. As an advocate for mental health, Pottery with a Purpose encourages you to take some time away from your phone to decompress and create freely. The official website is potterywithapurpose.com -purpose, or sorry, /purpose. This is another reason why I just instantly fell in love with this company, because it's really focused on unplugging and just centering yourself, basically, relaxing. And one of the things that makes me happiest is when I'm creating. And so every time I'm creating, it's helpful for me, no matter how stressful the week has been. So I'm just going to make a quick demonstration because I don't want to use my clay just yet, but I would want to make a small pot. So I'm just going to use half of this and use the knife tool to cut it in half. One thing you want to make sure you do is wrap up the clay that you are not using so that it does not dry out. The other great thing about air dry clay is that it is basically forever recyclable. It doesn't ever truly, you can add water to it to rehydrate it. So right now I am just making a ball. The clay feels really, really good and smooth and soft. And to get it started, I just want to make a ball before I start my actually pinching in. One of the things that's really helpful is if you kind of, like I'm doing right now, throw the ball between both of your hands, and as you're throwing it, make sure you're twisting it. So you're, I don't know if you can really see that on camera, but trying to make it like a little baseball, basically, as round as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the other great thing about just art in general. Um, one of my favorite quotes ever is from Bob Ross. If you know, you know that there are no mistakes in art, just happy little accidents, right? The great thing about clay is if you decide that you just completely do not like what you created, you can just smush it back down and just start over and just create something new. And again, it's pretty much infinitely recyclable as if you have it, fired it. Um, so, say if I don't wrap this up as well as I should, and it dries out just a little bit, I can add water to it and kind of start over with it. So you can see that it's slowly becoming more of a nice, round, smooth ball. I'm also applying pressure um, in, because I don't want any big air holes to be in there. If you see like a little crack or something, you can kind of smooth it out with your thumb. See how nice and quick that smooths out. But cracks are going to happen while you're working with your clay. That's perfectly normal, and we can show you how to smooth those out. So it's got a nice little round shape now. And then to start, you can keep the bottom round, or sometimes I like to just kind of slam it down and make a flat bottom to start with. I'm not sure why. It just, for me, just feels more comfortable. Do what makes you comfortable and what you like. So to get your pot started, you're going to push your thumb in, and you want to guesstimate it being about a fourth inch to a half inch from the bottom. So I'm going to estimate right about there. One great thing though is that you can take your tool, your wire tool, and stick it in. And if I can still see metal, it's not far enough down. So they kind of created that as a good measurement. So let's see, now I don't see the metal, so it's deep enough. So now I've got this hole. It looks like a little donut. And we want to think of this as sort of a building. So say I want to do 3 floors. I'm going to have the foundation, the second floor, and the third floor. The foundation is, of course, one of the most important parts, right, of any building. It's what kind of keeps everything strong. So you're going to start from the foundation, and you just want to lightly twist and pinch. Use these fingers kind of like a crab. Think of yourself as a crab. And you're just going to do that all the way around until you feel comfortable with your foundation. I love working with the clay. It's so relaxing to me. In high school, I took a pottery class where I was able to actually throw clay on the wheel, and that was so much fun to me. Um, so I kind of got the foundation done. Then I'm going to start slowly moving up my pot. And you can see as I'm going, it's getting taller and wider. This is actually going to be bigger than I was wanting. I should have gotten even, I could have did probably a fourth of the clay. I'm probably definitely going to make one of those upside down air plant pots because I love jellyfish and I think that's so cute. So I'm just going around my second floor here. And you can see it's getting taller and wider. Now, the thing you want to make sure is you want your walls to be between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch thick. You don't want them to be too thin because it can fall apart. If it's too thin, it might not be as sturdy. So if you're like moving it or something, that you can kind of see how thick this one is. This one is slightly thinner, the walls, but it's still very sturdy. Even though I did not fire those at all, those are just air dry. It's amazing. I love how much you can do with air dry clay. It's very relaxing, very feels just so smooth and soft, and just feeling it being pliable in your fingers is really relaxing. Typically when I'm doing this, I have music on. So I highly suggest putting on some relaxing music and maybe turning off all of your screens. This is more of a bowl than kind of like a pot like the other one. Um, Again, I'm not really going to save this today. I'm just kind of playing and wanting to relax a little. So I am going to smush it down and use it again later. One thing I will say too is, it comes with paint. If you want to have it fired, though, you do not want to paint it. Make sure you don't paint it if you want it fired. You can go on to the Pottery with a Purpose website, and there is a kiln locator where you can see where you can have your piece fired. And usually those places will have glazes that you can use, or you can find glazes for sale online or your local art shop sometimes, depending, I guess, on what city you live in too. So you can kind of see how it's a little crooked and cracked on the top, and that's where these like wire tools come in really handy and nifty. You can kind of even the top out with it. So I'm just cutting off like some excess, trying to make it as even as I can. I kind of like the bowl shape today instead of the pot. I have not made a bowl yet. Um, you can see that the walls are still pretty thick. Usually about the size of your pinky is a good size. If you want to use something rather than just eyeballing it, you can kind of just use your pinky. I know everybody's hands are different and bigger or smaller or whatnot, but it's a good estimate, right? And then this is kind of where a good time to use our sponge is. So that cute thin little sponge turned into a sponge. You don't need a whole lot of water on it, so you can squeeze out the excess water and then use it to smooth your clay. You will also notice that your fingerprints will be in the clay. Um, Sometimes I like to leave them just for aesthetic reasons. It's almost like a little piece of you is in the clay. And then sometimes you want to have it smooth out. So you can do that too. It is your piece, it's your art, and you do whatever makes your little heart happy. So I'm just smoothing it out. I actually think I will keep this. Sometimes plans change, and that is okay. um, I just kind of like how funky it got on me today with like the wavy edges. Well, I'm trying to make them wavy right now. Anyway, sorry. I'm not sure if you can see that, hopefully. Um, I'm just liking how this looks. So at the beginning of this video, I told you I made recently some Alice in Wonderland themed pieces, and they are um, the little drink that says drink me, the little cake that says eat me, a mushroom, and then a piece that says we're all mad here. I love Alice in Wonderland. That's my lifelong favorite story. And I know I said I wasn't going to keep what I was making, but I think I will. And I'm going to make it into a teacup, a funky little teacup. And I can put one of the things in there. So I'm going to teach you how to attach something. So now I've got this funky little cup here, and I want to make a handle with the excess clay that I cut off. Now the clay is cracking a little bit. It's been sitting on the side there. So what I'm going to do is just dab my finger in water and put it around, and then try to incorporate that water back into the clay to rehydrate it. And then I'm going to make a handle for my teacup. So I'm going to set this aside. and roll this out. Having a hard time rolling on this on this surface. This is a cutting board, a glass cutting board that I use for my art table, and sometimes it's helpful, and then sometimes, like right now, it's kind of too smooth. I'm gonna roll it on my table, but or you can also roll it like this. There we go. That's better. This glass is too smooth to get it to roll. So I'm gonna roll this out like a handle. And then just take the sponge, smooth out some of these lines here a little bit. You can also just use your thumb to smooth it out. Hopefully you can kind of see that. Like there's that line there. And I can just take my thumb, smooth it out a bit. So to attach this, again, you can make anything with air dry clay, anything that you can imagine, basically. If you can imagine it, you can do it. Smooth this out first. So let's see. Where do I want my handle? I think on this end here. And so what I'm going to do, I kind of want this to be funky anyways, because that was kind of the whole point of the other pieces I made. So I'm going to actually start the handle here at the bottom, like a normal teacup, but actually have it go inside. Because it's just fun and unique. So now to attach something, we're going to do something called what is called scoring and slipping. So I want to attach this end to the bottom here. What I'm going to do is you can take your wire cutter, or you can also do take your pointer tool, or I guess you can call it like a hole making tool, and just kind of crisscross some lines out of the clay. And then you want to do that also to the spot that you want to attach it to. So I'm kind of doing cross hatch lines here. If you can, hopefully you can see that. I know this light is a little bright in some spots and then not bright enough in others, but so kind of a cross hatch there. And then you're just going to take a little dab of water, your finger, and put it on one of the ends, and then take your other cross hatch part and then attach it. And what that is basically like its own glue. It's called slip. So I've got bottom attached there, and now I'm trying to figure out how I want this handle. I'm thinking like this. I like the way that looks. So I am going to first smooth out this side, and then I want to flatten this part a little bit. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to do some cross hatches with my pointer tool on the end of here, and also where I want to attach it, which is going to be right about here. I'm just doing some cross hatches again in here, and then a little dab of water on my finger, and here we go. And you'll notice some cracking again, especially as you're using your hands. The moisture tends to come out from the clay, and you can always just take just a little dab of water. You don't really need much. You can see, hopefully a dab goes a long way here, and just smooth them out. Yeah, I am definitely adding this to my little Alice in Wonderland um, set that I made. I love this. A fun thing you can do too is take your tool and put your initials. So I'm putting my initials and then the date or the month and year. I'll just put May 2025. And that's just always fun. Because then life gets busy and sometimes you forget all the good things that you've made along the way. And then you might forget when you made them. I have all of my pieces from high school, and I have, of course, my initials on them and the year that I made them. So, I can kind of like look at those pieces and be like, oh man, I can't believe I made that when I was 14. And so I think it's always good to sort of sign and date your pieces. So that is my funky little teacup for today. What I'm going to do is use it as a trinket tray. These are just so fun to make. Again, it's just so relaxing to work with the clay and to make things that you enjoy. You can also make it for yourself or for other people. These would make great birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, whatever you might need it for. And it's so relaxing. It's just really nice to unwind from the busyness of life, and you get to just kind of check out from the mundaneness of, uh, the daily grind, basically. So don't forget to do that. And there you go. There is a pinch pot with pottery with a purpose. Thanks. Bye.